I'm finally starting to get used to the new opening.
It sounds like we're in a Star Wars movie.
I know, doesn't it? Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Barb Kilberg here. I'm sorry I'll look so bedraggled. I am in the boonies of Iowa, helping somebody move, so I look like a wrung out dish rag. And I'm in my sister's basement, but the good
Have
thing
you been
about being
bad?
at my sister,
Oh, there you go.
you cannot come to my sister's without wine. So it's a party. And everybody to my direct that way. You want to introduce yourself, Tom?
Yes, I'm Tom Mason. I'm not normally here. I'm the
No.
special guest annoyance only because I know John Jackson Miller and I missed him at New York City Comic Con, so I wanted to say hi.
Yep. And below him is John Medic, one of
Hey, everybody.
our regulars.
Hey, how you doing? Nice to see everybody.
And right below me is my special guest and a longtime friend of mine, John Jackson Miller.
I'm glad to be here, and I wish I had realized that with the way I sit, it makes me look like I have Mickey Mouse ears with the two
Could be worse.
hands back there.
That's it.
But
It could
no,
be
I'm
horns.
glad to be here. I don't know about you, Tom, but I had a devil of a time getting out of New York City, so I ended up spending an extra day because of the nor'easter.
I heard this because I was in northern Jersey and I flew out of Philadelphia and I didn't have any, and American Airlines had contacted me and asked me if I wanted to change, and I just said no, I'll wing it, and then everything worked out fine. And so when I saw you were having trouble, it's like I must be the lucky person.
LaGuardia was just a sea of cancellations, and so yeah, we ended up just getting a hotel in Chinatown in Flushing, and we went to a Taiwanese restaurant where the wait staff seemed to think that they knew me, and once they Googled my name, they had me drawing a bat symbol on the wall. Where
Awesome.
along the other with the other guests that had done things there. I'm like, yeah, I really am not an artist. I don't do this. And my assistant was like, can't you just stop? Can't you stop marketing for even 5 minutes? And
no, because you have a new book out, and this is the glamorous life of.
I have a new book out, and so that's what makes this trip tax deductible. So yes,
That's and tax deductible. Yeah, you got that right on. And
let me see if I can get this. Let's see if I get this right here. This is the proper order. Nope. There we go. Yeah, here we go. It's so Batman followed by there we go. Batman Revolution, book 1 and book 2, and book 2 comes out October 21st.
Nice.
It is significantly larger than the first book.
I see that.
And they are the first novels tying into the Tim Burton Batman franchise. First original novels, not counting the Craig Shaw Gardner adaptations that came out back then, or the graphic novels that they did for each one.
And I approve of the trade dress so that the spines all line up when you put them on the bookshelf.
Well, and it was one of those things where we were looking at it and looking at various possible other things to put on the cover, and it was immediately like, this is the most successful advertising image in cinema history.
Right.
We're nuts to put anything else on. Although I will say that for book 1, our back cover was the Joker's card. For book 2, they just let me write the cover. So that's my handwriting to go along with our Riddler, who is the villain of book 2.
Well, no wonder you got to ask to sign the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
It was again. It's been a strange trip to get to do this stuff because I last did things for superheroes 20 years ago. Back writing Iron Man, and before that Crimson Dynamo at Marvel, and everything in between has been outer space or some other franchise that wasn't superhero related. So it was all Star Wars or Star Trek or Battlestar Galactica, and with the odd Simpsons or Conan or video game comics thrown in there. So to get back to actually doing superheroes, kind of coming in through this side door of movie novels. This is again what's been surprising about this. This is done so much better than your typical novel for comics, because there have been comics based novels for decades. I mean, not original novels. We've all got them on our shelves. But this, because we marketed it as a movie novel, it took it sort of to a whole other energy level, and that is it caused the first book to go through multiple printings in hardcover. We had already knew we were going to do book 2, and so I'm delighted that it's had the reception it's had.
So does this mean you're the go-to guy now?
I don't know, but it is interesting, a change to be the only person working really in one of these franchises, as opposed to like Star Wars, where there's multiple other people going on it. Right. The only other thing I'm negotiating is what sort of set the table for us is they came back and did the Batman '89 comics. They did 2 miniseries. Sam Hamm, who was one of the 2 screenwriters of Batman, and Joe Quinones, who drew the art for some of my Star Wars comics back in the day. They did stories that were set several years after the events of Batman Returns. And when my editor approached me, we actually were working on Tom Holler was my editor on Star Wars: The Living Force, which was my most recent Star Wars novel. And we're halfway through that, and he says, "Didn't you see Batman in the theater 12 times?" I said, "Yeah, I still have the ticket stubs." And he offered me this opportunity, and I think the only time I've screamed louder in the house was the time the state got in from outside somewhere. That or the time that I found out that Ewan McGregor had not only read my Kenobi novel, but had actually recorded a video talking about it. I'm like, okay, that was cool. But yeah, we decided what we would do is we would set our work in between the 2 movies. I wanted to hug the first movie and basically answer the questions that I had right from my I reviewed the movie for my college newspaper in 1989, and I then went back and reviewed it a second time after I saw it 10 more times, and I had issues with the plot that I decided I would propose to resolve in among other things in the first book, and they let me.
Oh, go ahead.
They let me do it. I'm pleased by it.
For the viewers out there who don't know who I'm talking to, John, actually, he just said something about college there. He graduated from UT with a degree in journalism in 1990, right?
That's right.
And he went to earn his master's degree in Soviet studies. Soviet studies! I just find this so fascinating.
The only reason I didn't get the doctorate was because the Soviet Union collapsed on my dissertation. And so everything I studied vanished, and I just said, "Okay, I'm out. I'll take the master's and go."
Did you learn Russian?
I went to Russian immersion camp at the University of Indiana that summer, and
is that run by the CIA?
Well, no, but it was one of those things where the whole idea was, well, we're going to all hang out together, and we'll all go to the same. All our meals will all be taken together at the dormitory cafeteria, where we will only be allowed to speak in Russian. And I realized, first of all, that the Midwest was weird because
yes,
the dormitory had a sausage bar, and I didn't quite understand.
Were you in Wisconsin?
That was
come on.
I live in Wisconsin now. Back then, I lived in Tennessee. Oh. So that was odd. And secondly, I realized if I actually had to ask for food in Russian, I would starve. So I just started bailing out and going to fast food. And again, so that was also on my mind coming back. I knew if I was going to go, have to go overseas to study, I would very likely starve. So So yeah, I took the degree, went out, ended up getting after 6 months of waiting around doing nothing, I got a job editing a line of trade magazines for the lumber industry, which is
exciting.
which is exactly as glamorous as it sounds.
Hold me back.
Yeah, part of my job was to edit the photos from the cocktail parties that all the lumber salesmen had, so that you couldn't see the drinks in their hands, because the last thing you want to do is buy wood from a guy who's lit. I guess I don't know. We were ghostwriting articles for the salesmen, and it was tragically bad.
How many times in the office has somebody yelled timber?
I just about took a chainsaw to everything, and I do not know what the walls of the room that I was in would be made of at this point if I had stayed. But I fortunately, again, because I had been reading Comics Buyer's Guide since high school, I saw, oh, the good Lord, don't do that.
I wasn't the one that dug this up.
That would
honey.
be Maggie. That would be Maggie. Thank you.
Yes.
Of course it is. Thanks, Mags.
Yes, Maggie gave this to me.
Well, so what happened is I applied for, I found out that they needed somebody editing the trade magazine for the comics industry, which was Comics Retailer. And I naturally showed up at Comics Retailer right in time for the industry to collapse in 1993. But that was how I met Tom, on the phone. I think I called you to interview you about Jump On Now, which was the Malibu commercial.
Probably. Yes.
Yeah, and with the bungee jumper, and exactly what the bungee jumper had to do with comics at the time, I didn't know. But who was I to question this? Because
he was my boss at the time.
Oh yeah, so it's so anyway, and that was an experience. Don Thompson was there for the first few months I was there. He was not in great health, and sadly he passed away about 7 months later. But it was great being there, and I would crack Don up with my impression of Pete Smith movies.
Oh God!
Because he said, "I thought I was the only person who knew about those," and I'm like, "But you can turn anything into a Pete Smith story. Taking baby for a walk. Look out! That'll be hard to explain to the little woman." Well, see, Tom is the only person who knows what that is.
Those are so fantastic.
Here comes Mr. Businessman. Oh no. These were what Don called them chasers, which would be the little clips in between the movies that would be so bad it would force everybody to clear the room. But anyway, no, and I ended up spending more time working on Comics Buyer's Guide, and then ended up inheriting other responsibilities. And I ran a magazine for collectible card games. At one point, we created our own price guide series to go alongside the vanilla price guide that we had. I came up with the idea of the standard catalog of comic books, which is this big 1,600 page book, which was way more than anybody needed. And what happened is in 2002, we sold the company. And even though I still worked there, Krause Publications was sold to private equity. And I went in to see my editor that day, and I said, "Yeah, I'm no longer a stockholder. I'm going to start, freelancing when the opportunity comes." And it did, and that got me, my very
lots
first
of work.
It started at Marvel with Crimson Dynamo. I did Iron Man for a year, and then Star Wars followed Iron Man, and that was 20 years ago this summer here. And Star Wars opened every other door.
Oh yeah, there's you did Halo.
Yeah.
And there you go, John. Battlestar Galactica.
That's the 40th anniversary Galactica graphic novel. And the thing that troubled me the most was realizing and it came as a shock that I was the only person working on the comic book who was alive when the series was on. I found this out because my editor at Dynamite sent the first pages of the first issue, and panel 1, page 1, was the Galactica is leading its fleet through the nebula. And I got the art page back, and it was Battlestar, 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 Battlestar.
Oh,
And
no.
I absolutely had a meltdown. And then I realized that my artist, Daniel HGR, who's a great artist, is in Brazil. They don't have the series. They've never had the series. But it's not simply that. It's also that Universal, at least at the time, was not allowing anything to be on YouTube except for the opening credits.
So they didn't know it was a ragtag fleet.
Well, the opening credits of Battlestar Galactica has a shot where it's 5 Battlestars because it's from the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the same model composited over and over again. And I said, okay, I need to basically appoint myself as unofficial assistant editor here. Please run everything by me, and I'm just going to up the footnotes like crazy, and there'll be links to everything. Because, I thought the only problem was going to be just making sure that nothing from the 2003 series got in. And we did good work with that. And nothing got in that was amiss.
I'm going to have to check that out. Barb, thanks for putting that in there for me. So, John, nice to meet you. The other John, my online handle since the mid-90s is Cylon0011.
Oh, very good. Well, it was the Galactica fans that got us we got the Dragon Award that year, which is, it's a popularity contest, but it was, you would not have believed the number of Galactica fans for that 78 series that are still out there.
Actually, my wife just walked this one over because this was in the other room.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I was
Marvel
just trying to reach over because I was like, everybody has like a box of Cylon action figures in their dining room, right? But I think it got moved.
Yeah, I enjoyed getting to do that. It sort of scratched that that itch. And,
I was a huge Dirk Benedict fan, so
Here we go.
that was a no-brainer for me to watch that, and a science fiction fan. So
Okay, so these have got to be the Rob Liefeld ones.
No. These are the 78. These are the Metalls.
The 78 ones, okay, because they look too bulky. Because the Liefeld ones were like
baguettes.
Oh, okay, you got it.
Oh, no, the Liefeld one. Hold on, I got that here too.
No, I know what that looks like.
Now you had to go and set him off.
Okay. Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
And so I'll tell you a story on this one. I was at an all-night flea market with now my wife. At that point, girlfriend. And I'm looking at toy vendor, and I'm like, oh, cool. So I walk in like his little booth area, and I'm checking out the Battlestar Galactica toys. And then I turned, and my kiddo wasn't with me that weekend. He was with his mom. And so like I hear, hey, Dad. I'm like, oh, hey, John, how you doing? And then I turn, I'm like, what are you doing here? And then I see my girlfriend talking to like my ex-fiance, my kid's mom. I was like, oh, this is weird. And I turned back around and went back to the Battlestar Galactica toys. And of course I had to buy it. So yeah, it saved me.
And beyond the comics, you've also lots and lots of Star Wars. What was it? 9 Lost Tribe of the Sith novels?
Okay, there were Lost Tribe of the Sith was a series of short stories and a novella that we put together in a single compendium. But no, there have been, I think I'm up to 4 or 5 Star Wars novels, 8 Star Trek novels. And then I wrote the entire Knights of the Old Republic series. So that was 57 issues in different incarnations. And, all of this stuff is coming back out. Marvel has put everything I ever did for Dark Horse into 2 big Old Republic, omnibuses. The second one of which is coming out November 4th.
Oh, it's terrific.
Yeah, but I mean, you've hit the big duo, Star Trek, Star Wars. You've done them both, and if you add Battlestar Galactica in there, it's a trifecta.
And Indiana Jones.
And Indiana Jones, and then Batman is just really sort of the one where I'm like, people always ask, well, what's your dream thing you haven't done yet? And that was one where I never asked for it. I never thought there was a possibility of doing it. Actually, I take that back. I did ask for it. When they did the Batman 66 comics back in 15 years ago, I remember meeting the editor at San Diego and saying, hey, if y'all ever want to do Batman 89, let me know. And he said, you're like the 40th person to ask that.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, okay, well, this will never happen. And it's just, it came around nostalgia wise, and particularly once you get Michael Keaton showing up in the Flash, it ends up being something that becomes much more marketable. And so, yeah, it's been a fun ride.
There's Maggie talking about you.
Maggie's that's for our first actual book launch event for it that will be in Appleton, Wisconsin, 6 o'clock next Tuesday night, the 21st. Although the book launch really technically has already happened in that we did a couple of signings at New York Comic Con where I was joined by Michael Uslan, who's the executive producer of the movies, and he signed everybody's books with these. Oh yeah,
remarks.
Yeah, and it was amazing, and he's been very supportive of this project, and I think that it's been wonderful to see how it's been received.
Well, if you talk to Maggie, she sounds like a proud mother.
I just went to her. She had her own talk that she gave at the local historical society the other day, and again, she is, she and Don were the George and Martha Washington of comics fandom,
yes.
and I learned so much from them. Don, said, okay, they're the people in the building who are difficult to deal with, and then here are the people in the industry who are going to wind up on top of a building with a high-powered rifle someday. Like, well, thanks for the information, and now I know.
They were my comic parents. They kind of they fed me a lot. Let's put it that way. And every time I have a show that's farther north than Madison, Maggie will make a point to come to see me.
And they used to host the picnics at the on the Krause grounds, and she was very much when eventually I got appointed to be her boss because I was editorial director of the division. She made it clear. She said, "You can disagree with me as long as you're right." And and that's what we try to work out.
So how did it come about that you landed the first Batman book?
Well, again, I was writing the Star Wars: The Living Force book, which was my Jedi Council novel that I did last year. Basically, that was for the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, and they just said, we just want the Jedi Council in a novel. And I said, okay, can I have Qui-Gon Jinn call out the Jedi Council on their crap? And can I have him, ask them why they haven't ever actually left the room to help anybody, and send them on a road trip. And they said, yeah, go for it. I was in the middle of that when my editor, Tom Holler, said, we have this license, and you've been doing other franchise work for years, and this one inside and out, and because I really did, because that was such an important film for me. I've been doing a lecture at most of the cons I've attended this year, slideshow, The Legacy of Tim Burton's Batman, where I discuss how I think it is the most important comic book movie ever. And I still feel that way, and how it really changed the general public's opinion of what comic books were. and that was because everything is always sort of arrested at the most recent thing that has the highest viewership, the highest circulation, and we were really kind of stuck in Adam West world since 1966, and such to the point where in 1988 in November, so we're talking 7 months before the movie coming out, the New York Daily News, when they do their article about Ron Perlman, the investor, not the actor, buying Marvel Comics, the headline was Biff Pow Bam. And
oh boy,
and all the articles were always, holy guacamole, a grown man actually opens comic book store. Can you believe it? And there was, by that point, though, a major disjunct between what people thought comics were and what we had going on in the stores. We didn't have the comics code to worry about in the comic shops. And Batman had evolved, and we had Watchmen going on. We had all sorts of other things going on, and this was it was concerning to me and a lot of other people. And I was just in high school when Dark Knight comes out. But certainly I was conscious of the sort of persecution complex that we had all had for so many years.
God, yes.
And I was hiding the fact. I was reading Comics Buyer's Guide to hide the fact that I was reading the comics. I was like, well, no, here I'm an investor. See, I've got the price guides. I've got the whatever. But I mean, we were not getting any respect. One of the pieces that I show in the slideshow is Robert McKenzie's review of The Incredible Hulk in TV Guide. And so we're talking about 1979 here, I think. And, what do we know about The Incredible Hulk on TV? Well, it was the most successful Marvel show. It was also the one that was the least like the comic book. Yes. And it was just The Fugitive done with, green makeup. And his article, he says, this is hard to watch. It's based on a loathsome comic book. He uses that word, loathsome. He says they completely misunderstand what a series about a comic book should be. It is not campy. It needs to be campy. It is taking it seriously. That is nonsense. They have this brooding music. It's ridiculously mismatched with the subject matter. It's just horrible. And what we had around it. I mean, we had when Batman reappears in cartoons in the mid 70s, they give him Batmite in the second episode because they can't accept the fact that he might be a crime fighter.
He's as bad as Daggett's John Madick.
Yeah. And then we've got
Hi, Pops. Everybody say hi, Pops. He runs the network.
Pops.
Hi, Pop.
And Wonder Woman is a campy series.
Mm-hmm.
We're not getting any air support from the other Marvel shows, although I'm fond of the Doctor Strange movie. It's got the mom from Arrested Development in it, Jessica Walter, as Morgan Le Fay. But again, we get a couple of serious Superman movies, and then that devolves. And Marvel, when it gets to Hollywood, it's with Howard the Duck. The last superhero movie that came out before Batman came out was Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Yeah.
And so the general public's opinion about comics was very definitely still imprinted with Adam West, who had not gone away in that time. It was very much a thing that was present. People were seeing Adam West on TV. They were seeing that version of the series on TV. A version of the series that everybody knew at the time was campy. Mad Magazine is 2 months in. That's when their parody of it and everything surrounding it would have been written and drawn. and so we get to this point in the 80s where if you're reading the pages of Comics Buyer's Guide in 86, 87, 88, odds are the headline that you're reading is about the fact that comics are under fire again for content, that the general public doesn't know what we do. And so you had Thomas Radecki, who was part of some coalition about television. He was on the Larry King show preaching against comics, and cable TV was starting to have hours to fill, and they were preaching against comics. And it was just very much a concern that, unless we change the general public's opinion of what we're doing here, we could be in for another round of troubles like we had in the 50s. And so, we have Michael Uslan, who had insisted on getting the most serious version of Batman made as could possibly be made. Gets the pieces in place. And the problem was the two big pieces to start with did not give the general comics fandom much confidence, because Michael Keaton had been a comic actor and Tim Burton had been directing comedies. And so we really had articles in Comics Buyer's Guide, or rather letters in Comics Buyer's Guide. And I put those in the slideshow too, where people are actually saying, this is going to set comics back 15 years, 20 years. It wasn't just that this movie might not be good. It was, this movie could actually harm the business, harm everything we've done. And those were the stakes. And it was part of why they put out a trailer without any music, without even the name of the movie in it, at the end of 88. I don't know if you remember, there was a movie called Tequila Sunrise. Ironically, Michelle Pfeiffer, ironically.
Yes.
And they ran that trailer with it. And this sort of unfinished trailer is out there on YouTube. It does show the Batmobile with the machine guns. It does show that I'm Batman. We get a couple of glimpses of the Joker. But the reports at the time, and I don't know if there's any way to ever confirm this, were that most of the people going to see that movie that weekend were going to see the trailer. And because that's when the word of mouth started to go. And the letters in Comics Buyer's Guide start turning towards cautious optimism. Diamond and Capital City see what's going on. They get in there really early, basically saying, please order up as much stuff as you possibly can. You're going to be ahead of the biggest wave ever in this field. And they were.
Did a lot of people take their advice?
Oh yeah. That movie comes out the third week of June in 1989, and $48 million in the opening weekend. Yes, we get civilians into the building. It changes everybody's perspective about the comics. I will say, when I went to see the movie, I was terrified. I was editing the University of Tennessee Daily Beacon, as you mentioned. I assigned myself the movie to go review. I bought my ticket and wandered the mall that Thursday before it released at night, just terrified. And then I walked up at the end of it, as it was about to open, and I realized, okay, well, we've got people in Joker makeup in line. We've got people who have brought with them black bed sheets, and they've cut holes in the bed sheets to stick their heads through like a cape. And we get in there, and the lights go down, and the music comes up, the Danny Elfman music, and we see the big graven Batman logo, based on Anton Furst's design, and we then see Anton Furst City, a place that doesn't exist. This just amazing mythical place. We hear the first line in the movie is from Prince. I have seen the future. Playing in a passing car. And then of course Bruce Wayne as Batman makes the scene, and people are cheering, and they cheer all the way throughout, and we get to the end, and it's like, could you imagine being allowed to kill the Joker in a movie? Well, Tim Burton could, and so by then we're like, all right, we're completely all in. We get to the end. The lights are the bat signal goes on. The camera is climbing, and the music is climbing. Everybody's cheering. My thought was, this movie has just redeemed comics in the popular culture, not just Batman, but comics in general, and it changed the way that movies would be after that. You don't get the size of the opening for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles you do without Batman. You don't get Dick Tracy's posters having just the Tracy logo on it without Batman. I can't visualize the Rocketeer, the Mask, and absolutely not the Crow coming out within 5 years without this picture
or
showing. What's that?
Or Darkman.
Well, Darkman is really the first, and it's not a comic book movie, although Peter David, rest his soul, said it is, because he declares himself at the end of it, I'm Darkman. But it's where we get Sam Raimi, and that's really the first movie that feels like Batman, and that's coming out in the fall of '90. And again, it's changed what Hollywood thinks a superhero movie can be, and in so doing, it has changed the mental template for what a comic book can be, and all that stuff about comics possibly warping kids' brains. It all went away, and we get that boom that starts with the summer of 1989. And then, for many reasons, and you're all well aware of them because you were in the middle of it. Yep. It collapses under its own weight. Right. But I mean,
what made you want to explore this storyline further?
Well, I mean, when they said, yeah, hey, we can write more stories based on it. Well, first, once I realized this is gonna happen, I realized that Batman '89, those comics were set a year or so after Batman Returns, and when we got into conversations with DC, the staff on the comic book, and Warner, I said, okay. Whether or not we're in continuity with them, and we sort of are in a loose continuity, I said, let me put all of my stories in between the two films so I'm not colliding with them. And also, I don't want to duplicate anything they've done. The comics already did, their version of Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to get in between the two. I'm going to address some of the questions that I had. My first review was of course golden of the movie, but then later when the students came back for the fall in '89, I had written another review after I'd seen it 10 more times, and I had issues with the movie, and I was getting into things like, well, okay, why were the Joker's henchmen in the cathedral when they had no idea he was going to the cathedral? And other continuity issues like that nobody really cared about while they were making the movie. And what's this business about I was a kid when I killed your parents, when he doesn't know who Bruce Wayne doesn't know that Batman is Bruce Wayne? How does that stuff all fit? And in a column in Comics Buyer's Guide in 1989, I had said, I think I know how to bring the Joker back. and I can do it by addressing some of those plot holes. And so when we got into conversations with Warner and DC, I said, if you guys trust me to get this right at the end, if you trust me that I'm not going to ruin the original movies, because that's the key. You can't, you got to treat Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever it is, like a national park. You got to take out what you bring in. You can't leave your fingerprints everywhere. You can't undo things. But I said, I can actually make Whether the Joker is Dead part of a psychodrama that is in this first book. And so the resurrection is, among other things, about the funny thing about Jokers, there's 2 in every deck. But then we also got to give people our version of Clayface, and other members of the Rogues Gallery that we were able to bring in a Michael Keaton, Tim Burton, aesthetic. Anything Burton is going to do, the characters are going to be, the villains are going to be, a combination of tragical, comical, and there's always with Tim, there's always sort of that freak show Ed Wood element to it somewhere. And so I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do, and also because he based a lot of what he did. It was a mishmash of the 40s and the 80s, or actually the 30s, 1939. Batman with a gun still. I said, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take, for a Clayface, I'm going to take Basil Karlo as he was the actor back in the 40s, it's going to be something where. He's not the shambling mound. They wouldn't have done CGI what they would have done with that character in the 70s. But I am going to give him a tragic backstory and put a spin on things, so that there's very much this kind of Phantom of the Opera, Universal Monsters kind of a thing going on with this guy, and it will feel like it fits. And I'll answer some questions, and we'll get to actually have Batman in action. At the same time, I'll be setting up book 2, which very cleverly hides the fact that the Riddler is inside.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and so I did my own Riddler, and because the Schumacher films were not part of the license that we bought, and they have a different aesthetic. They have different rules to their physical universe anyway, and so my Riddler is like no other Riddler you've seen, but it plays with some of the expected things that you get with a Riddler story, but not all. I mean, our Riddler considers himself the greatest detective in Gotham City, and he is, and it goes from there.
Not Batman, huh? But the Riddler.
No.
I'm convinced I need to read this. John, can I ask you to spoil something for me?
I won't, but go ahead.
This would be a little one. Alexander Knox shows up or no?
Alexander Knox is everywhere. Again,
okay.
And remember, I'm in that theater. I'm a reporter, and I'm also a smartass. So, and I was already a fan of his. Robert Wool co-wrote the Police Squad series. All the episodes that were on back in 82 or whatever it was, and I'd been a fan of his other stuff, Good Morning Vietnam, and everything else he'd been in, and so absolutely he's there. What happened to Vicky Vale? That's one of the questions we got to deal with.
Oh, good.
Why is Bruce Wayne still doing this whole thing when, unique to the Burton verse, if you want to use that phrase, which everybody uses, why would he keep doing this when the Joker is the person who killed his parents? Well, isn't that resolved? Isn't that done?
Yeah.
What would Alfred think about him continuing to do this? Commissioner Gordon, the Gordon that we have in the movies, played by Pat Hingle, is almost certainly the oldest one we ever get in any live action franchise. This is a guy who's probably just right at retirement, and here this thing shows up.
Right.
And he's almost certainly going to have a different kind of relationship with Batman. There's a deep distrust that Batman has of the police that is gone by Batman Returns, and a deep distrust they have of him in the beginning that is gone by the end of the first movie. And how do we deal with it? The reason he's Batman is because the police failed him. And police are failing others. How does it begin going to work for the police? And yeah, is it possible that Gordon can end up being a mentor for him the same way that Alfred is? And so we get into that. Even though we don't have do I know Michael Uslan? So one of the comments says, I think I know Michael Uslan. So yes, it was just signing the books for us at New York Comic Con.
Can you show that again?
Yeah, it's
and there's even a photo of the two of you together at the booth.
Oh well, yeah, we signed at the Random House booth, and then I got to sign at the DC booth for the first time, and that was really cool. So I get to bring these characters in, and also I get to bring the characters who are in Batman Returns. So Max Schreck is a major player in the second book, and he's also in the first book. What did he think of the Joker? What does he think of Batman? What's going on in the city?
That's so nicely tied together. Oh my God, that is so wonderful.
Selena Kyle is in this book. The only rule is that Selena can't meet Selena Kyle cannot meet Bruce Wayne, but she can be anywhere else in the story. So that's what's going on. I was at New York Comic Con and just barely got back. I got back a day late because of the storms. So that is kind of the way of it. And then we take advantage of the fact that I think this is just a unique version of Bruce Wayne as played by Michael Keaton. He's certainly more quiet. He's very watchful. He's very reserved, but he's funny. And but because we're in a prose novel, I'm able to get behind that that shield that he's got between him and everybody else, and show his mind working and how he's working his way through these problems whenever he's in something. I mean, we see him in that scene in the original Batman where the Joker is massacring the gangsters on the front steps, and he's just standing there just wondering what's okay. And he's sorting all out. Who is this Joker? What is going on? Who are these people? And we get to actually be with him in those moments in the book. He is different as well in these books than other versions of Bruce Wayne. The Keaton Bruce Wayne is not a millionaire playboy, really. He's not using the playboy persona to hide who he is. It's sort of ancillary. He's in the movies. He's expected to be much more of a part of society. He's a part of Gotham City's civic life. They expect him to be at public events. He puts on the he gives his house over to trying to save the bicentennial fund. We see him in a Batman Returns, squaring off against Max Schreck, saying, "Yeah, the mayor and I are going to fight you on your power plant you want to build." So it's very much the case that Bruce Wayne is trying to help this city as he can, just as Batman is doing in his own way.
Can you see this becoming a trilogy?
Already, Batman Revolution is the longest novel I've ever written. It's 550 pages long. I need a break. This
It'll
was
take a year or two, and then
this
you
was
know.
this was
Wow.
conceived as a duology, so it's a 950 page story in a sense. In a sense, Revolution is part 2 and part 3, if you want to look at it that way. We are still in conversations on things. My passport is still valid. The future, as Yoda says, is always in motion. And I will say that it's really been heartening that not only have people followed me from Star Wars to Star Trek and back to Star Wars and to this, but the best comments that I've gotten have been people saying that this is the most natural I've seen in any franchise work. That this is somebody said this is what I was born to do. I don't know about that, but it's, in a sense, not having to share the continuity with multiple other parts that are going at the same time. And I am connecting to what's happening in the comics because I want to. But the reader is absolutely free to ignore the comics or not, just as the comics reader is free to ignore us or not. I'm just making sure it fits in case they want it to. Being able to actually inhabit this space here and really spread out. 950 pages is pretty spread out. That's right. Across. That's it. It's in 2 different books.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Good. I was going to say, Tom, John, Haley, do you have any questions?
So I'm fascinated by process, and everybody works differently, and everybody is, the stuff that you create from your own head is sometimes different than the stuff you create under a license.
Yeah.
And so who watches over you, and what's the process for, getting the book through with the most John Jackson Miller in it?
Well, I'll say that, I've written 6 million words and I own 100,000. I own exactly 1 book. Everything I've been doing has been in these other sandboxes, in part because I started as a journalist, and doing things on spec has just never been my way. Every time I've turned on a word processor, I've known where the story was going to appear, or that the story was going to appear. Certainly I will propose projects and then begin writing them, but I never begin writing the project until I actually have the contract to go.
Right.
These always involve the process of an editor is going to have to approve it, and then also the licensor is going to have to approve it. And it's a matter of finding out, what do they want to accomplish by having the tie-in? What do they want to accomplish? And then how can I tell an interesting story and also achieve their goals? And sometimes what they want to accomplish is more complicated than simply, let's give people a great story in this world. Right. Sometimes it's, as in the case of my Star Wars novel, A New Dawn, it was a prequel for it was a prequel to the Rebels TV series that was going to come out before the TV series did.
Right.
And so we were going to introduce people to the 2 main characters. And so this involved a lot of working with Lucasfilm and Dave Filoni and the other executive producers of the Rebels TV series about what was happening, what was going on with these characters. I had to be very aware of the parts of the stories I couldn't get into, because even though I knew the main characters' histories, the general public was not going to know all of that until later.
Right.
And so, I had to know which parts of the stories were mine to talk about, which parts were not mine to talk about. And then, so 95% of the story, the actual dynamics of the story, the thing we have to blow up, the thing we have to travel to, whatever, and all of that stuff. That was all me. And then we get, books like, as I mentioned, the Living Force, where it really is just, it's a Jedi Council novel. Go. And this Batman as well. The book, well, there's two books. It's Batman Resurrection and Batman Revolution. Resurrection is in hardcover, audiobook, and ebook, and also trade paperback. Resurrection is. Revolution comes out in hardcover, audiobook, and ebook on October 21st, which is Tuesday, as we're talking about here.
And where's the best way to buy them that benefits you?
Oh, it all does in one way or another. I mean, I've got a website, farawaypress.com, where there's a bookstore page that has links, and a couple of them I might have affiliate connections to. But honestly, anymore, I used to chase that 4 cents every so often, and I don't. I'm like, whatever is going to be easiest for people to actually get the work. Is going to be good.
Are you going to have any signings anytime soon? Or are you going to have any?
Oh, good Lord!
About signed editions?
Okay, well, here's what's happening. Is all right. The book launches October 21st, 6 p.m. at please hold the books up again. The book launches October 21st at 6 p.m. At the Appleton, Wisconsin Barnes and Noble, which is sort of my local one that I do all my events at. But this time I'm also going to go across the interstate to the Green Bay Barnes and Noble for the first time. That will be October 22nd. That's Wednesday at 7 p.m. And I'm doing talks at both, signings at both. I know at least Appleton is going to be doing a Apple is going to be doing a Batman quiz that I wrote, a trivia contest. Actually, Brent Frankenhoff wrote a lot of the questions.
Really, wow. Brent?
Right.
Yeah, and one of the comics by. Well, Brent is the proofreader of all of my novels.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
what a lucky guy.
Yeah, he's. And in fact, this reminds me, I've got to give him his copy. Not this one, but I was not able to get a spare copy in New York, but my copies are going to be shipped here soon.
Appleton, you say, huh? I just pulled it up. 3.5 hour drive. Sounds
Appleton. Appleton is Tuesday night next week. Green Bay is Wednesday night next week. Then I fly to Memphis, which is my hometown from back in the day. And what I'm going to do is Friday night at 7, I'm at the Barnes & Noble in Jonesboro, Arkansas. And then 1 p.m., I'm at the brand new Barnes & Noble in Germantown, Tennessee, which is a suburb of Memphis. And that's my old stamping ground. And my high school friends are going to come out for that, which is going to be fun. And then on Monday, I am, because we're going to get an indie bookseller in here, I go to Square Books, which is in Oxford, Mississippi, at their Off Square Books location, and that is 5:30 p.m. there. I will eventually, probably the first place publicly where I'll be selling/signing the book on my own. That is going to be Minneapolis at Twin Cities Con, which is the first weekend in November. Somewhere closer to Christmas, I'm going to do some comic shop events. I think I've got one in Green Bay at Powers Comics. Probably going to be Small Business Saturday, but they'll also have it on my eBay store. Faraway Press is the eBay store name. But right now I'm giving the bookstores all the time they need to actually sell this thing. And then I've got, let's say, I think I close out the year at GalaxyCon Columbus in December.
And what's your website again?
The website is farawaypress.com. I have notes on many of the works that I've done there. Not nearly all of them, but that's happening. And then I've got. Yeah, people can find me on social media. John Jackson Miller on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, farawaypress.com on Blue Sky, JJM Faraway on Twitter. And then I also have the Comicron site out there, which is a whole other thing.
I think Tom asked about that.
Yeah,
didn't he, Tom?
you're still doing that, right?
Yeah. Okay. So Comicron is this public database that I've had out there on comic book sales figures. 25 years. I was reporting everything that Diamond put out, and for 21 of those years, 22 of those years, I was actually analyzing the numbers and calculating the magic number to get the number that was actually hidden inside. I've got all this data, and the direct market part of it is just part of it. I have all the statements of ownership. Any more New York signings? Nope, that was where I just was. So New York Comic Con, I'm afraid, is my trip there for this year. However, there's always next year, and there may be other stops. I was doing the numbers every month as they came out, and also I was doing an annual analysis of the whole business with Milton Greep at ICV2, and what happens is the pandemic happens, and the numbers stop coming out when the business stops. And when Diamond returns with data, for a while, there's no actual numbers attached. And of course, in the meantime, over at Lunar and UCS, which was Midtown's company that they had briefly, they weren't doing sales charts, and not with any data to them, and so we had this drought. And Diamond ends up continuing to try to put data out into 2021, but they then lose Marvel, and then when the I don't know if everybody remembers when they had the ransomware incident. Everything all the systems just started failing one after another, or had been failing already, and the data was not that interesting anymore, was not that useful anymore. I stepped out of doing the annual thing with ICV2 after 2021, because I didn't feel like my contribution, which was the direct market stuff, was based on anything anymore that I could actually vouch for. And what I did is, after that, I would just continue to run really just as an archival thing. Diamond was still putting out its weekly reorder data, but that was getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And in this last few months here, with their troubles, I eventually got locked out of the Diamond website, and the Diamond staff was sending me, just hand sending me the reports, and then my contacts all got laid off. So that was the end of that, and so that's it for the public data. But you know what? I've got all this stuff from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s that I can still get into print. I have so much stuff. It's ridiculous, and it will be online. Part of not having to do, part of what's allowed me to actually do more conventions and do more books is that I haven't had to do these numbers, while sitting in an airport.
Right.
Which I really did, and it was hard for a long time.
Well, my favorite parts of the website are the statements of circulation from the from the way back years.
Well, I have them all now. There are 4,065, and
so awesome.
They with the ones with data run from 1960 all the way up through the present day, in the course, or in the case of the one publisher that's still doing them, the one and the one magazine that they're still appearing in, and that is Mad. And so for the last 7 years, it's been only Mad. because Archie stopped in 2015, Marvel stopped in 2011, DC stopped in '89, and so that database is complete, and I am working on getting it into a format that I think people are going to enjoy reading.
Excellent.
Well, that's excellent. And we have more than used up our hour for the night. So we are hang around, John, after the show a bit. I want to thank John for being on with us. And please, everyone, make sure that you go out and buy Revolution as soon as it's available. And say lots and lots of nice things about it. And we're just going to show you that. Buy both books if you haven't already gotten the first one.
Absolutely.
Because the first one's out in paper, right?
It's out in paper, but don't you want the matching?
Yes.
You got to have the whole set, guys.
In fact, we went to the trouble to make sure that the trade dress sits
Looks
right.
good together. Yeah,
That's nice.
So
It'd be
it's,
sacrilegious to do it any other way. I mean,
well, that's what we think. But it's these things don't always happen. And again, because it is the Riddler, and because our Riddler is a newspaper columnist, our book will have puzzles in it.
Oh,
Come on.
dun,
That's
dun,
cool.
Riddle Me This
dun.
by Edward Nygma,
Oh my God,
the pen name of our
Mhm.
that is
It's-
awesome.
That's cool.
It's Wordle for comic fans.
This word.
Well, that's kind of the inspiration. Although I'd go much further back with because again, it's got to look like it would have happened in '89.
Right.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much for being on with us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. As an aside, and I'm sure it's not as exciting as John, but if anybody's going to be in Mason City this Saturday, I'm doing a store appearance at Oak Leaf Collectibles, so please show up. They're having a big Halloween event, and I will be there. So come on down. And for everybody who knows how we sign off on Wednesday Wham, and I do not have anything with me because I'm in my sister's basement. But as we like to say at the end of every stream, make mine Silverline.
That's really backwards.
Hi, I'm Dave Dorman. Make mine Silverline.